2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Eastern eCrit series powered by KISS and Zwift Community Live. My name is Jesper Anker, and as always I'm joined by my good friend and former World Tour rider Wesley Sulzberger. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm great, Jasper, and we are going to have a riveting night tonight. Pat Shaw, I've had a little bit of word to him earlier in the day. He said he's actually been forced, and he said this on Twitter also, forced into some structured training. So let's see how that works out for him tonight. So Pat Shaw, forced into structured training, he's going to really take this on.
I mean, word on the street is, Wes, he could use some structured training. He's been looking a pretty weak lately, just say. Pat Shaw has not been winning for a while. He's been second and third behind Anker.
Yeah, I think he's been doing some of the other Zwift races as well. And I think he said he's been getting a bit tired out and overcommitting, so it's forced him to do some structured training with a bit of recovery. And we get underway now, Jesper. Hassan straight out of the gates here, Jesper. He's
straight out of the gate, Demo Hassan. But I just want to mention that Pat Shaw actually now has a verified badge. That is something he did not have last week out on course. Verified badge means that you are a person of interest for the general public. Either you are a retired pro racer, or you are a triathlete, or you're Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, the founder of Facebook is on Zwift, actually. So that's what that verified badge means. Yeah, I don't have one, so that we can all make the conclusion right there. Wes, I just want to mention, by the way, why the race goes underway. Did you make the trip from Australia to London overnight, or what's happening?
Yeah, it was a long flight. I did have plenty of leg room. There was a whole aisle free, so I've laid out and made the trip over to London. So as you can see, got the background here, got the arch behind me. So ride London. So yeah, it was a good trip, and glad to be here with you, Jesper.
Well, it's quite nice to see you. I mean, you're currently beneath me in the broadcast, but hey, it's nice to see you right over here in London, Wes. It's great to have that green screen finally set up for you. I did like the previous surroundings, but we are about, 15 weeks in a broadcast in the eCrit, and we've got you set up with a nice setup, and that's because, Wes, you've been really doing well so far in the broadcast. So as the riders out on course. How do you like your new setup? How do you like having a green screen behind you?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but I'm getting used to it, and I think it adds a little bit more to the production from a visual point. Definitely. Last week we had the Watopia grass behind me, but now we've got the actual green screen working, so that's good. But hopefully we'll see some of the Wolfpack Taz guys feature up there tonight. Nadsy is out on call for the fire brigade, so he won't be in amongst it tonight, but we will have the other very strong riders in there. With Dunn leading the series, and Ockerby with that very, very powerful kick will be there for the finale.
It's shaping up for the WP task riders. Dunn already secured a spot at the top. I think it's mathematically impossible for him to not qualify for the event. Something drastically would have to happen to him, either maybe an injury or something. But we're 6 races left. The next 3 weeks we're going to be on the London Classics course. We've seen enough of the Watopia forward volcano course, and now we're going to be heading to London. So we've seen the London course before, Wes, way back in the days. What do you think of the London Classics course?
Well, London Classic course, we do see a lot of guys trying to make that move, but it always seems to come back for a sprint here. And we have seen really long-range sprints as well. We've had some of the lead-out men of the other guys in the team sort of make that first move and cause some of the riders to go early. We've had Pat Shaw hit out from, I think, 800 or 700 meters out. And also we have Jones that usually likes to do the old bumblebee and just takes off at least almost under that K to go banner that starts to light up for that sprint. So we have seen some really tough, just drag racing sprints. You can feel the lactic in the riders' legs, that last home stretch when they're just going that last 200 to 300 meters, because normally in a bike race you'd sprint from 200 to 300 out, but here we're seeing the riders go from a lot longer out to try and take that long range attack with that aero power up.
And see, the London course is actually the longest, I believe, of the 3 available courses. It's 44 kilometers in length and usually takes them about 55 minutes to an hour to complete. That's 15 minutes more than the volcano circuit. What does that mean for the racing?
Yeah, for the racing, that obviously means that when we've had a bit of stop starting in this sort of on this course as well with the attacks, so we do get a bit of a flow going with those attacks and coming back together. And we have seen up through that little bit of a drag before you get to the finish there that it sort of splits a couple of times, but usually does come back together. But that does decrease the size of the bunches. So usually we'll see a group of at least 15 to 20 left at the end. We've got a fair sized group here tonight, Jesper.
Fair size. So tonight is actually the first night we're using separate categories for the racing in the eCrit series, but that just means that the overall peloton will be smaller in the A category as the B, C's, and D's, which in Australia, do you categorize your racing tiers by numbers or by letters, Wes?
Usually by the letters, yeah. So in some of the Masters racing, you'll have Cat 1 and Cat 2, but a lot of the races will still go by the letters, yeah.
So it'd be the same exact principle as in Australia then, where the B's will be racing against the B's, the C's against the D's, and the C's against C's and D's against the D's. And then we have the A's, which are the riders we've been showcasing week in and week out for the last good 3 or 4 months. The strongest, the smartest, and the riders that get the most aero power-ups from Australia. Wes, since last week, there's been a major update out on course. What does your avatar look like after the update?
At the moment, I'm thinking I haven't actually changed my avatar. I've had a good look at what could be the options. I'm thinking that the big goatee and the man bun was good, but then I'm thinking the mohawk with the beard would probably have to be the go.
You can definitely tell Wes is like a kid stuck in an adult's body, and that's why we all love you, Wes. It's so fun to have you on. But what do you think of Oliver Jones? Bumblebee outfit seems like he's rocking a man bun and the Oakley sunglasses. How would you rate that out of 10?
He's rocking I'd rate that up there highly. I'd probably say that's about a 7 there. And with the power that Jones puts out, that almost puts him at 7.5. So we see Jones out in front here now, rocking that man bun, making sure it's tied back and nice and aero. No flappage there. He's got full aero man bun happening right now. And I'm sure he's looking for Pat Shaw or someone like that to come across here, or maybe even one of the Wolfpack Taz guys.
We've got Anker doing the pacing back in the pack. I had a quick chat with Oliver Jones the other day because I just had to get in touch. Oliver has been racing week in and week out, and I wanted to know what drives you, my friend. And he said, you know what, it's just the whole racing atmosphere. The Australian level is so high down here, and I just want to get better and get stronger and get in a good workout. But he did also play with the idea that if he had been Australian, how many points would he have accumulated over the last, 16 races? I reckon he would have been top 5. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, I think he would be definitely in that top 5. He's actually won. I reckon he's run on the Volcano circuit. I reckon he's won at least 3 times outright, if not more.
Probably. That's 60 points alone right there, which would put you in top 10 right now. So, would be interesting to see, but currently he's busy with the Tour de Kiwi, which is Tour of New Zealand. We just had Tour de Oz, which finished. I do not remember who won. I know that Jeffrey Keel, my teammate, got 3rd in that race, I do believe. So, now they're doing Tour de Kiwi, powered by Elite. So, if you're from down under and you want a chance at winning an Elite Dorito, I think it's called. There are 3 of them up for grabs. Take a look over on the Zwift events page, and you can see the Tour de Kiwi going on. About a six stage race, I think, with mountains, with hills, with TTs, and with sprints. So you've got to be a good overall rounder to have a good shot at winning that. But first time underneath the start-finish arch here in London, and it looks like we've got Pat Shaw off the front. What's Pat Shaw's strategy today, Wes?
Pat Shaw, he definitely likes to be aggressive, and he doesn't want to just sit in the bunch because he doesn't like the bunch just to roll along. He likes that sort of aggressive, that stop starting, sort of causing the bunch to react. And we will see, obviously, some of the other riders wanting to join him. Hopefully, that'd be in his interest that someone would go across to him here. He's used that aero power up early in the game, and we have spoke about that, Jesper. Some riders will guard that aero power up if they really fancy themselves for the finish. So they will hold that aero power up the whole race just to make sure that they've got that right aero power up.
And see, Pat Shaw, he's right now got a 7-second gap off the front. He likes to toy with the peloton. He likes to see if he can break it up. He's got the power to win in a sprint, but for Pat Shaw, he just wants to have fun on his bike. He's not sitting in for a Zone 3 ride all the way to the end and to explode into Zone 5. He's going to try to attack away right from the gun, and it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out for him because, Wes, Pat Shaw is not a guaranteed invitee for the finale just yet. If we look at the overall standings, Pat Shaw is sitting in 9th at 106 points, representing Lavello Podcast. He's got about 13 points up to Mick Polymer. 13 points is actually a lot if Polymer can continuously finish just behind him on the line.
Yeah, we do see it's very quite tight also there. Hassan just a couple of points in front of Shaw as well, and I think it's definitely going to come down the wire for this. You know, Pat is like you said, he's being forced into a structured training to make sure that he's in form for these races. So he really actually is very keen. And when I spoke to him today, to make sure he makes it down to Melbourne. I think if he wasn't even in the top 6, I'm sure, you know, he's in Ballarat. It's not that far to come down. I'd hope that Pat would come down even if he isn't in that top 6, but he's definitely aiming for that top 6.
But I think the competitor that he is, if he wasn't to qualify on points alone, I think Pat Shaw would take that as a defeat.
I think he probably would. I think we are quite competitive by nature. I know I've raced against Pat Shaw myself. He's very competitive. So yeah, it would be a little bit a bit of salt in the wounds if he didn't get through in that top 6. But I'd hope he'd still get involved.
Wes, something just hit up my brain. So you know we've been doing this for about 16 weeks now. What if somebody just tuned in this exact moment in time? They're sitting at work, they're watching on their phone, they're just waking up and they're putting on they're putting on coffee. What are they watching right now here at Go Zwift?
They are watching some avatars on a screen here on bikes, but those avatars are powered by people on bikes. So they may be in their garage, they may be in their lounge room. They are sweating it out right now, and they're putting out some high numbers. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the heart rate and the power and the cadence. So that is actually powered by someone on a trainer. So you need to have a smart trainer or either a power meter to be able to hook up to this. So with a smart trainer, you pretty much got a trainer with an education. Otherwise, if you've got a power meter, you've got a dumb trainer, and you use that power meter to make that transfer across the game. So that all links up through the game, which feeds through the power to your avatar. And each week, these riders are racing for points. And at the end of this tally, we will have the top 6 from the east and the top 3 from the west come together in Melbourne for the finale.
So for the finale, I know everyone, we've been saying Tuesday, 19th of September, Tuesday, 19th of September. This could be up for grabs just yet. So I would not go out and buy tickets just yet for your plane or for your hotel or make an arrangement. I would stick around for another week, and then I'm 100% sure there will be an announcement made over on the KISS Road Race page by Glenn Knight himself, the race organizer of this race. So do not go out and buy tickets just yet. Hang on to your tidy whities because stuff could still be up in the air. So we're going to heading up to the climb now, Wes. This is the one segment on this course where you can really make up the difference. It's the Trafalgar Square incline. Looking at the pack today, we're going to head up this climb 7 times. At what lap do you think we're going to start to see the biggest moves go away?
Well, 7 times, yeah. Usually that last 4, it's already sort of dwindled down by then. Like the pack is started to get shelled a little bit there. You know, some of the riders that were struggling, and then we see Jones go on the attack here. By the time we get around to that 4th, almost that 3rd time, the pack is reduced from those stop-start accelerations. And we see the reaction come through the bunch now. Some of these riders are not liking these riders getting away here, especially with Jones, someone like him, very strong. And the other riders that are thinking about these points here don't want Jones. Obviously, Jones is a Kiwi, not eligible for points. Don't want him to drag someone else away that could force them out of that top 6.
You know, the lack of Nazi and Troy Herfors tonight is really, it's already now showing. Because there's only really Pat Shaw wanting to instigate attacks, to make moves, to try and tear things apart early on in the race. Everyone else in top 10 has got a good sprint on them. You got Linton Savatsky, capable sprinter. Aaron Dunn, really good sprinter. You've got Luke Ockerby, who in the later part of the series has really come to show on that volcano circuit. Even here in London, he's shown that he can do a sprint. So it's going to be difficult to shake things up tonight, and I think that the bookies do showcase a sprint could be on our hands today, but it depends on Pat Shaw. He's the wild card, he's the joker, he's the man that could shake things up.
What about also Anthony Vegan Porsche? He'd be looking to follow Pat Shaw on one of those moves. You know, obviously doesn't fancy himself against those top pure sprinters. So if I was Anthony, I'd be looking for that move with Pat Shaw and Jones. If Jones joins them, that's 3 strong riders that would be committed. So that would be the move I'd be looking for.
So you actually have some news on Anthony Porsche. Tonight, Anthony Porsche has decided to take a rest day. So racing for this long can both be really turning on you physically, but also mentally. So he has looked at his buffer and he said, I have 60 points down to the nearest competitor. That is one race. That is okay to take one race off and then come back next week. So Anthony Vegan Porsche, if you're watching out there, I hope you've got your legs up. I hope you've got a beer or a coffee in your hand, maybe a snack. And I hope you enjoy watching all these guys suffer while you're sitting there smiling and thinking, ha, not me tonight. I'm not going to worry about the air power-ups.
No, he's not going to have to worry about those aero power-ups with his feet up on the couch. And we do give Anthony Vegan Porsche a big g'day if you are watching. And we will see him obviously next week, maybe after his recovery, bit of R&R. But back to the racing here. Do we see any new names in this bunch now, Jesper? It looks like it's starting to reduce already from those stop-starting, that breaks, that Pat Shaw has forced some of these riders to dwindle off the back here.
I've seen a few names that have been new into the race. So last week we pointed out he races for Team Huckside. I think it's Jay Nevins is in amongst things. We've got Dr. Taka, who's got probably one of the most flavorful Instagram pages if you want to follow him for some good down under riding your bike. We got Paulie in here, who's been consistently sitting top 15, top 20. He's been racing pretty much every week since the gun. We got Leach, we got Thorpe, we've got further down we got Birdie, who's been racing a lot, and then I saw Tom Aliff in amongst. Also, another WP task rider I've not really seen before. Solinger? Is that correct?
Solinger?
Sorry? I think it was. I'm not so sure. It was such a long name, I saw the end, and it ended on Ger. G-E-R from WP Task. Raced very early in this race, but it looks like he's been dropped out the back. Is that a new racer?
So no, GR might have been my brother. Was it Sulzberger? I don't know.
Actually, I mean, now you say it, it could have been Bernie. It could have been Bernard out there racing. But that begs the question. No, Sullivan. He's right here. There he is.
Yeah, Chris Sullivan is part of the Wolfpack crew. So Chris has been racing for a while. He hasn't been just involved in the KISS series. He's been racing throughout a lot of the other races here on Zwift. So that's very good to see him joining part of this crew. And I have seen him a couple of times now, his name pop in the eCrit series. So that's awesome that he's getting amongst this. Aliff looks like he's following some of these moves now and wanting to sort of make sure he distances himself and gets out there representing the WP Taz team.
Oh, look at JJ. Loving the name, putting out 7 watts per kilo together with Trekkie, and Aliff is on the wheel of this. So I said there was really only one point in the race where you can really shake things up. That sometimes can be a lie, because if you got the right mix of riders in the front, anywhere on this course, a massive attack can break things up, and we're seeing that from JJ, who may have just gotten pulled by the commissioner of the race for, yeah, we're going to have to check on the replay for that one. It looks like JJ had a power out, or either the commissioner came in with his hand, you know, one of those claw machines, poked him up, put him out, and then dropped it over the basket and been pulled from the race. Can happen sometimes.
Can happen. It looks like it's happened this time, but back to the racing again. We see these riders starting to look to work with Jones. That looks like in front there in the Bumblebee kit, I'm guessing that is. So we will see these riders start to think about going on with some of these moves now, because these riders, you know, they've got nothing to lose. Some of these other riders that aren't up on points, so they actually want to try and just get a personal result for themselves and see if they can get that pointy end of the race and try and hold a breakaway away from these other, distance themselves away from those other sprinters that are just so quick at the end. You know, if you aren't a sprinter, then your best bet is to try and go with these moves and try and create a gap and then work together.
You know, this latest update has really made spectating Zwift racing so much more fun for us. At least for me, because now when we get up close and personal to the riders, they're all unique. They're all a different version. They're not the same old Zwift avatar. You've got mohawks, you've got ponytails, you got, you know, full-on beards out there. It's just really fun to watch. But a rider who stayed true to his original avatar is Craig Watson. Craig Watson has actually been flying under the radar, but he's currently on track to get that invite to Melbourne. Wes's wheels tell you anything?
Yeah, Greg Watson. He's changed names 3 or 4 times throughout this series. So he's Able Physio. So his wife is a physio in Tasmania. So Able Physio. I have actually used Able Physio before when I've had some knee troubles during one of the seasons. She was quite good and helped me out. So if you're in Launceston, then maybe get along and see Able's Physio.
That right there was a spot on, recommendation from Wesley Sulzberger out there. If you want to be a World Tour rider and you have issues with your knees, check out Able Physio. You can do. One thing we've been noticing with this newest update, though, is that you can now adjust your sock height, sock length. What is the correct sock length to wear, Wes? Sock doping. Let me hear it.
Well, I see there is the old triathlon one there with no socks. I've seen a couple of riders in there who have zoomed in close who've got no socks on. But I would generally go for something sort of mid-range. I wouldn't go something tapping the calf because of the tan lines that creates. Can look good, though. Can look stylish. But for personally, I think on Zwift, I would probably rock the calf tapping socks. But in real life, I'd probably go with the midpoint.
I want to see the tan lines that calf socks can create. How do you cover that up, Wes? Preach.
How do you cover the tan line socks up there? Yes, the trick is to roll them down, and then when you go for your coffee, roll them back up so you look the part.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Pro tip from a pro rider. That I'm sure everyone at some point has had that wonky looking tan line and gone, what am I doing with my life? So does happen, everyone.
Yeah, even with racing in some of the pro races, you will see, especially the Vuelta, I know it's a bit more relaxed and casual feel for the Vuelta. They'll actually see riders rolling their sleeves up. The breakaway's gone. You'll see them roll up their sleeves and take a bit of their tan line out of their arm. I have seen it done many times. I have been guilty of doing that myself a couple of times too.
How many times have you seen a Mario Cipollini when you just decide not to wear anything at all?
Yeah, Mario Cipollini was very well known for his outfits. Yeah, it's certainly, and I think there was just a one recently of him in a very flashy outfit on Instagram.
There was.
Mario Cipollini there's definitely always created a stir. And the thing was with that team, how they would change kits all the time and just pay the fines. Yeah, they're quite cheeky in what they did there. Like Mario Cipollini, when he wore the muscle suit. He's just like, I'm wearing it, and yeah, just pay the fine. I can wear that, wear whatever I want. So yeah, it was quite a very bold attitude and strategy he had, but he definitely had a good following.
I think Mario Cipollini would do well on Zwift because he could just change his outfit every day, every hour, every ride. Today I'm rocking this. Tomorrow I'm rocking that.
Yeah, he'd be like the live version of Lee that we saw in Melbourne that was doing the commentating for us. Lee is if you've checked out Lee's Instagram, I'm not sure what the handle is for Lee's Instagram.
It's
but,
Lee_Turner, I think it is.
Lee Turner, because I have checked that out. Lee Turner has some very, very stylish and flashy outfits. So do check that out, as well as Dr. Tucker.
It's not only flashy, it's stylish. It's actually _ Lee Turner, that's his name. It's not only flashy, but it's stylish. Like, he'll find old school Mape kit. Not only the jersey, not only the bibs, but the arm warmers, the leg warmers, the cap, the gloves. I mean, I'm just impressed by the amount of research he's able to do to actually find this equipment.
But what was impressing me was he was matching all the kit and, matching the socks up, but he was actually changing shoes a lot as well to match with the colors. Like I've seen him in Mavic shoes, I've seen him in Black Giro shoes, I've seen him in Shimano shoes. So he goes all out with it, to match, match your socks, fair enough, but matching shoes, that's next level commitment.
How about matching bikes?
Yeah, he was doing that also, yeah. He's in Europe at the moment. He had a full pink Giro edition Giant. So yeah, that was pretty specky with all his pink Giro outfit as well.
Gotta love Lee Turner. I do hope I get to see him sometime soon again. That man has got more energy than me on Red Bull, and that says a lot to everybody. Lee Turner is such an awesome guy on the microphone. The race, though, as we keep coming back to it, we are on the Classics course, London course, which sometimes tends to be not slower, but a bit more tactical, because on the Volcano circuit, I find myself saying again and again and again, oh, we're at that point in the race where they're assessing the situation and they're looking around. On the Classics course, on the London course, that seems to be every like 3 or 4 kilometers, everyone starts looking around and going, I'm not going to take a turn at the front.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot. Like the riders here, we do see probably a little drop in the Wolfpack numbers as well for the team situation. So usually, like Nadzie would be the instigator here with Pat Shaw going with those moves, attacking. So we don't have the likes of that Troy Hurlfoss as well. So tonight we are seeing the guys being a little bit more calculated, obviously because of his point system as well, making sure that if they do use any matches, they're burning them for the right reasons. We see JJ going away again there, and now we're back to B Trekkie, and we see Pat Shaw going on the back of it. This could be a move here.
First team, well, not so much team effort, but first unified effort at the front. Jay Thorpe, JJ, who's been put back into the race, and Pat Shaw have got a 3-second gap off the front, and back in the pack it is Greg Watson, who's trying to get them back with a Bertie. This is a dangerous move though, because if these three riders start taking turns at the front, they have the capability, they've got the legs to actually slowly drive away off the front here, because Wes, you mentioned it. WP TAS don't have Nazi here today. They have Aliff, they have Sullivan, they have Dunn, and they have the Ockerby. Sounds like a lot, but they're missing the luxury domestique. They're missing their road captain out there, who would usually go to the front and nullify the attack. But he's not doing that today, Wes.
No, he'd usually be the one to instigate the chase or start to do those attacks across. But we don't have that team tactics here tonight. So these other riders in this bunch here will have to think about also that are down on those points and want to go for those points, because obviously Dunn is quite high up there. Ockerby and Dunn would be very hard to beat to take over that to be secure. But we do see Aliff going to the front here now doing a bit of pacing. It looks like they're just hovering out there now. So they're not really getting too much more traction or distance. And now Ockerby's had to take up the chase and make sure that this is getting nullified here. Hopefully some riders will start to attack. That will bring the gap back, and then it will start to regroup and then obviously reassess. The guys usually will take a little bit of time to reassess and then go again.
And now when they go again, the thing is, the pace has been so high now, and now they're reaching the Trafalgar Square climb. So they'll be hitting that climb at a really high heart rate. They'll be already bursting out their ears, and now they've got to do another effort. So this is either going to make or break the break. As they're now at the front, they've got 3 seconds. If they can keep up wattage over the top and grow out their lead to 5 or 6 seconds, I don't think they'll be coming back. But the young Kiwi is not having any of it. Oliver Jones is bringing them back. Bumblebee is right here. All back together over the top.
He has nullified that attack there. So sitting at 170 heart rate. If you look over to the left-hand side of the screen, that gives the power as well. So over 500 watts he just hit there, dropping back now to that 380 with that 90 cadence. So he's spinning it out there as well, not grinding. So any of these other riders in the bunch here and listening right now, if you want to take a little bit of a tip, my tip would be to make sure that you're not grinding that cadence. If you're getting down below that 80 RPM, you're starting to get into that sort of strength endurance zone. You're starting to use the muscle, and you're not going to use the aerobic system, and you can only do that for so long, and then you're going to pop.
Coach Wes said it. Better listen, guys. So, on that topic before of having the whole assess the situation thing, do you think it's time that Zwift adds something like wind? Crosswind, headwind, sidewind?
Well, now that we are seeing with some of these new smart trainers coming out, with the vibration function, you go across the gravel, it starts to shake. And speaking to Nadia, who's just updated from a kicker to one of the Neos, said that the feature is pretty cool. That he said, yeah, obviously for a racing point of view, everyone would need to be on it the same. Otherwise, it's sort of a bit unfair. But he said the actual feature of it is really cool, that you could, that you could have that lifelike feel. And when you ride across a gravel section or a rough part of a road, you're waiting to get off it, and then you feel that moment when you're like, sweet. He said it's felt really, really lifelike. So I'm really keen on testing it out and having a go with that. But there are lots of things and platforms that could be used in this game. The opportunities are definitely there, Jesper, to mix it up. For rain and wind, we could see that I did joke with Nazi about his kids spraying him with the water bottles if he wanted some rain. So we may be able to get a video of that on the Go Zwift page, or the Kiss Road Race page. Send in your. So actually, we did make a little bit of a request a couple of weeks back of sending in your helper who helps you with the setup. If someone bring you water bottles, someone bring you those sneaky gels. Have you got a sneaky gel hiding somewhere that you've got there just for that last minute call up if you need it?
But if you were Nazi's kid, why take a water bottle? Your dad is part of the fire brigade. I would get out and get the water hose and be like, hey dad, surprise! And then just let it rip. That right there would make for a fun video.
I'm sure that, yeah, Aiden would probably be up for that. He wouldn't mind giving his dad a good spray. So, yeah, we'll probably get updated on a video of that from the fire station.
No, but when I was mentioning wind and rain, I meant more as an in-game factor, because with this new update,
Yes.
we've seen that the customization now is more important than ever, because bikes and frames and wheels have now been giving a star value in weight, in aero, in speed. So what if you added to the game random wind? This is just speculation. This is just little Jesper dreaming of a better game. But imagine if you had wind that would change depending on where you're on course. Because if there is a tailwind, a brake is more successful. If there's a headwind, less successful.
Yeah, so obviously, like adding on that extra bit of resistance there when people are already under pressure. So, like if Jones here was going away into this crosswind here, obviously with that extra pressure on here, would that suit him better? Obviously not. So he'd want to go in the tailwind section. So that could bring some more tactics into it. Actually, if certain sections are known to be a crosswind or tailwind, yeah, it could be something that could be the future, Jesper.
Let us know.
You might have to get into programming.
Oh,
sorry, you might have to get into programming.
I would love to, but I do not. I don't think there's not enough room. There's not enough storage up here. I mean, it's pretty much being filled out already by all the eCrit writers, the backstories, having to listen to all your dad jokes and trying to catch up on the Aussie slang. I mean, this hard drive is about to need a good cleaning at some point. But yeah, it could be really cool. And let us know in the comment section below or over on social media. What do you think? Is that a feature you would enjoy? Maybe even having like Belgian crosswind sections, because if you're on the Tax Neo and you have the road feel, imagine if you're in Richmond and you're feeling the cobblestones while you're getting that extra bit of resistance because you're in a crosswind. That right there is money. It's things you cannot buy with money. It's such a cool experience.
Yeah, that would be a pretty cool experience. So, already with the lifelike going up the climbs, you feel that resistance come on automatically with these smart trainers. Chuck him in a bit of wind and rain for an extra little added resistance. Maybe a good feature.
In the meanwhile, Oliver Jones and JJ have gone off the front. JJ, a newcomer to the racing today, and he's been looking solid today. Not to say at least he also rocks a solid stash out there on course with his new and improved avatar on that Zwift aero bike. So Jones and JJ, 6-second gap. But we got Birdie, who is also racing for WP Task. So you actually have more riders than I originally counted. So looks like Aleph and Birdie are on domestique roll tonight, Wes.
It looks like they're getting in amongst there, making sure that they're keeping the pace moving along there when these other riders are starting to attack. But the two riders out in front, JJ and Jones, aren't a real threat to the overall points. But at the same time, they want to be in amongst this race, and all these riders are still racing to win as well. We both have Dunn and Ockerby, who are very fast finishers and would probably fancy themselves for this crit tonight to win.
Well, this series is kind of like a long stage race, not determined by time, but by points. Every single round is essentially a stage in itself, and you get the glory of being at the top of the podium, regardless if you're a part of the stage race or not. And so these riders, they'll be chasing it. Cyclists, they have a reputation of being that bit greedy, always wanting to win that bit more. If it's the Combativity Award, if it's the KOM jersey, if it's the stage win. That feeling that we can all get it is what's going to bring this pack back together. But Oliver Jones now has left JJ in the dust, and he's going to try... Actually, he's not. He's actually going to try to attack away with a 2-second gap as that little turn and twist played a trick on our eyes there. And of course, it actually looks like they've got 10 seconds now. And Pat Shaw realizes this and is going to try to bridge across as we're over the halfway point in the race. 43 kilometers in total of racing today. And this breakaway has got a 10-second gap. It is time now for the WP Task riders to show what they've got.
Yeah, and we see Pat Shaw going across there and going across very quickly there. He's putting the full hammer down. He knows that Jones will work with him because Jones is one of those riders that he's not afraid to pull some turns. So he will keep the power on when Pat bridges this little bit across here. Looks like he's going to roll up onto the back of JJ here. And Jones looks like he's a little bit more ahead there as he dropped JJ. Yeah, he has. He's gone solo over here now. But Pat will pick him up and they will start to work together here. So Jones is committed here, actually still pouring on the power heel at 440, nearly close to that 450 watts, holding that at 184. So these riders are at their limit here. That 180, we saw Pat Shaw on that heart rate. Zavarsky, 172, and 168 towards the back here, and 183. Neville, come on, Neville, give it some chain.
We'll give him a ride on as he's trying. He's either trying to bridge across or he's trying to bring it back. It looks like he is trying to bridge across to the breakaway because Wes, for some reason I just lost your name there for a second. This breakaway could actually stay away as the first breakaway in over a month. This has got all the right ingredients to being one nice cake today. So the breakaway is trying to be brought back by Paulie, by WP Taz. Even Ockerby is now going to the front, and the pack is all over the road. You can definitely sense there's a bit of panic going on because they've got maybe seconds to make decisions that will play out over the next hour or so, half an hour or so. So you got to make the right move. And what is the right move, Wes?
Yeah, well, it's shuffling around here. You know, with Shaw and Jones, who are very, very strong. JJ is a newcomer and looks like he's obviously going quite strong tonight, being out in front. So those three riders will be keen on working with each other. We see the bunch sort of scatter a bit here now and want to make that move to try and chase them down. So as long as that pace keeps on here now, if someone starts to do a bit of a move or a fly here, that could work definitely an advantage if they continue on with it. And the Wolfpack Taz guys really need to start to think about what they're going to do in this situation. Who's going to chase? Who's going to start to try and bridge that gap across and create that chain reaction of everyone trying to move up towards the front to bring this breakaway back?
So the breakaway has just been caught actually. It was a Chinese pedestrian out on course who put down the 7 watts per kilo paint train and just hammered on the front and brought back the group of 4 riders out in the front. But that meant the pace in the pack was so high the riders were shelled out the back. We saw Sullivan as the biggest name being put out the back from the WP Task team as they now go underneath that start-finish line banner again. I believe they've got just about 4 laps to go, and as you can see, this pack is thinned out. It is down to about 15, 17 riders, all very strong riders, and we'll see JJ, Pat, and Oliver Jones on the move again. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, we will do. And these riders now would all be starting to make sure they get that water back in here. They may be thinking about that last part of the race now, thinking about that sneaky gel if they've got one there, to make sure that they are ready for this last half of this race, because it will be on. There will be a lot more attacks. I'm sure that Jones and Pat aren't done yet. And Ockerby's going to have to really lost my bottle there. Ockerby's going to have to make sure that he covers these moves, because now that we've lost a few more riders out of this bunch, he's going to maybe have to start to watch these moves here. Otherwise, Dunn as well is going to have to start to watch some of these moves. We see that they are coming up to the front here now, playing a bit of policeman maybe Dunn. So he's looking, now they know that they have those high points with Dunn. They may be looking to set up Ockerby, obviously the quickest the last few weeks, obviously wants to try and make sure that he stamps his authority in this sprint. Pat Shaw and Jones will be the two to try and mix it up and go away together again, I'm sure of that.
14 kilometers to go, and the riders are looking around now, and they're wondering who's the next to make the next move. You cannot sleep on it. If a breakaway in Zwift gets about 5 or 7 seconds, it's going to require one hell of an effort to get back on par, because on the online world, the virtual world of Zwift, you don't have the same luxury of bringing in 8 team riders, 8 domestiques. I mean, in the old days, Wes would be racing with FD Shea, and they bring 7 riders to bring it back, so Wes could attack in the finish and, win, being the team captain. Don't have that luxury on Zwift so much, and that's where you see WP Task dominating.
I'm not sure what race you're referring to, but most of the time I was doing a lot of the work for the others. But we do see that some of these riders here now that aren't probably haven't been racing this series still in amongst it here. So we've got a select group of about 15 to 16 riders left. And we will see some of these riders start to take a bit of a move. We see Alif sort of coming up the front here now, sort of forcing his hand to see if anything will go. It looks like everyone sort of is happy just to sit in behind him here and roll through. So still a bit of looking around here, just a bit of a shake of the legs, as you would say, Jesper, to see, test the legs, see if anyone wants to go on with any moves or whether everyone's going to sort of follow suit and take that rest now and take that opportunity to get the heart rate back down and rest those legs ready for these next attacks. And most likely they will be on the uphill leading to that finish.
If you want to be a part of a team, head over to swiftpower.com, sign up, and then all you gotta do is click that one box that says looking for team. Once you've done that, teams will approach you and they will try to recruit you. They'll try to draft you. That process is pretty cool, as you get to feel the most special person in the world, as Vision, as Aussie Hump Day, as WP Taz, as all these teams. They try to get you into the fold. So being part of a team has massive gains out on course. As you can see, Alif, Birdie, Ockerby, Dunn, they really got the police work down to a T, while they've also got the sprinter set up in there. And all the other riders racing for their own. Pat Shaw, Jones, JJ, Trekkie, these guys, they're forced to try and break away again and again and again if they're not confident enough in the sprint, or if they don't think they can beat such a good sprinter as Dunn and Ockerby. As we're now heading left, and they can see Big Ben, and they're about to head up Trafalgar Square once again. What are you leaning towards today, Wes? Are we seeing a breakaway victory, or are we going to see a mass sprint?
I reckon we're going to see, it won't be a breakaway as such, but it'll be a select group. I reckon about maybe 8 to 9 riders left at the end out of a bunch. So it'll be a sprint out of that, I reckon 8 to 9 riders. I reckon it's going to come down a little bit more. I reckon it's going to be a bit more of a shakedown. Pat Shaw is definitely going to mix it up. Jones, of course, is very aggressive and likes to make sure that these riders aren't just rolling around. He likes to get that stop-starting going, to snap those other riders' legs and to make sure that it is certainly a hard race and hold that power on. We see a few riders here going off the front here now. Looks like Ockerby with him here.
It's Ockerby and Neville going off the front with Jones, but this is not so much an attack as it is just a gradual acceleration up the climb, making sure that you're at the front of the bunch. You do not want to be at the back in case it splits. You want to be near the front, so in case the group falls apart, you're at least in that front group and you can sit in, you can draft, and you can rest up. But that's another ascent of the Trafalgar Square climb, and it looks like we've had 2 victims at the back put out at the back. So 12 kilometers left of racing. A reduced group of 8 sprinting for the win, Wes. It's time you make a prediction, but today you cannot mention a name in top 5 overall standings. Who's going to win? Not in the top 5.
Ooh, I'm going to go, I don't know, I'm going to have to go with an outsider here. I'm going to have to go with JJ. He's the only other rider I've seen here that was quite strong and went off the front early with Pat and Jones. So the outsider I'm going to have to go is JJ.
I like the JJ. I'm going to go just outside top 5. We're going to go with the Wes's Wheels, Craig Watson. I've got a feeling that it will be a breakaway. I have a feeling that somehow we'll see a small group go off the front, because it's been so tough racing so far. And surely the Wolfpack Tasmania squad, they're going to lose a few numbers next time up, because Alif and Birdie, they're human beings. They're not going to be able to put out 7 watts per kilo for 44 minutes. Again and again and again. If they're not human beings, then you taught them well, Wes.
No, these riders are putting in a lot of effort, and we see JJ coming up to the front here now, sort of probably heard that call out, maybe is thinking about making a bit of a move here now, but it'd be interesting to know whether JJ has a sprint or whether he has been racing on Zwift for quite some time or not, because he needs to make sure he's used that power up there. Looks like Jesper's going to work here to find a little bit of info on JJ. But we will need to know that these riders will use to that power up, so they'll come through under these banners here. A lot of these riders now maybe have already got their power up of choice, so obviously that aero power up is the main one that they want. Under that you'd have the featherweight, but obviously on a flat course that isn't going to make too much of a difference. But that drag, the draft boost would be quite handy if you don't have the aero power up. But everyone is sort of, if they haven't used the aero power up early for a move, or they had to bridge something across, we'll be using it to perfection for that sprint. And we usually will see the riders, if it does come down to a sprint, I think it'll be a select group of 8 riders for the sprint. I think there will be a long-range sprint. We're going to have one of those 800-meter sprints. Someone's going to go early and force the hand, and everyone's going to have to go after it. So it's going to be a real grovel to the line. That's my prediction, Jesper.
I like that prediction. So I've had a look at Mr. JJ. He's not linked up his account over on swiftpower.com, but that does not mean he hasn't raced before. So far in this race, he's averaged 5 watts per kilo over the last 33 kilometers out on course. In those last 3 races, he's finished 17th, 27th, and 7th. So he likes that 7th. We'll see if that's going to where he's going to finish today as well.
He's got some consistency there then. So, yeah, he obviously enjoys this racing. Good to have him involved here in the eCrit series powered by KISS Racing. Also, a big shout out to grandmother from Wynyard, Wendy Superfan, is hitting us up, giving us a ride on. She is watching now, Jasper. She is quite a big fan of all the pro cycling and also the virtual cycling as well now. So a big hello to Wendy Superfan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain I've seen Wendy on a few backstage passes back in the day.
Yeah, Wendy gets in the backstage pass. She's been on the local news here also for supporting Richie Port. So she definitely makes to follow around all the Aussie pros and give them plenty of support. So thanks very much, Wendy, for cheering us all on.
You know, I would like to actually... Should we send Wendy a water bottle, a Zwift care package? I think she's earned it.
I think so, yeah. Well, why not? We'll organise that then, Jasper. I've got a couple myself, so I will throw one Wendy's way. So, Wendy, get in touch and send me through your details, and I'll send one out to you.
That's what you get for being an avid supporter of both pro racing, Zwift racing, and just cycling in general. Wendy, thank you so much for all the continued support on social media, because we have seen your name pop up quite a lot, and we love the interaction. That is the thing that makes Zwift great, in my personal opinion, is the community. Like, you jump on your trainer and you go, yeah, it's just a trainer. Suddenly you got people saying, hey, you're from Denmark, I'm from Denmark, let's try and ride together. Or, I mean, that's just so cool. What do you think, Wes?
Yep. Yeah, the connections go well beyond just the bike. So, you know, a lot of these other riders are connecting via the Facebook groups as well, having a chat afterwards. You know, even a lot of these other rides, you know, after this ride here, you know, a lot of the riders will ride around, have a bit of a chat. And we see that most of the Zwift events, or even people riding on here, you know, you're riding along, you might meet someone, hey, I've been to Denmark before, blah, 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 have a bit of a chat. And then before you know it, you know, you may be over that side of the world and catching up with them in real life. So virtual comes to reality.
Fun fact, there was actually a couple that got married that met on Zwift a while back.
Oh, that is gold. That is gold.
That right there.
Oh, did we... What did we send them? We would have had to send them more than a water bottle. Maybe a couple of T-shirts.
I think...
They get married in the Zwift T-shirts?
See, that is beyond what I can comment on, because I actually don't know. But if I had to send them something, I would send them a nice bouquet of flowers, but in a Zwift arrangement. So like orange and then like a white set. That's what I would send.
I did see actually the other week on Daily Mail, there was a post tagged Eric Min and put it on Facebook about a billionaire on a motor big yacht with a Zwift T-shirt on. So I think it was a Swiss billionaire, pharmaceutical Swiss billionaire, on the back of a big motor cruiser with a big Zwift T-shirt on.
I mean, if you're living on a yacht or if you're living in your basement, doesn't matter. As long as you've got a Wi-Fi connection and a trainer, you can Zwift.
Yep, so Zwifting from luxury yachts to Zwifting in your garage, whatever works. It would be interesting to know whether he's actually taken part in any of the events while on the yacht. So I'd like to see some of those photos. But send us in some of your photos of your setups. We've done this before, but
on
we'd
your
like
yacht,
to see.
please.
Yeah, we'd like to see some interesting setups. So some of these people, I think you've said, I think from the Western series, was it John O'Bates? It was out on the balcony. Oh, no, was it Bates?
Jeffrey Keel has his own little Porsche outside where he just puts up his trainer. That's where he Zwifts. Wakes up at 3 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning to race the big European races, and he races in the dark. It's very, very high commitment. By the way, Wes, I want to say something real quick. I cannot believe you've not made memes yet out of that Daily Mail Zwift picture. That would be so up your alley. Like, when you've just started a 12-week training plan, but you gotta go on a luxury cruise. Zwift billionaire.
Zwift billionaire. That would be it. That would be it right there. I have just got a little message popping across on the stream, just saying that Wendy will be coming to Melbourne as well. She said she will be there, so that's cool that Wendy's going to be part of it in Melbourne as well.
That's awesome. That's great news. Still, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you guys out there in Melbourne at the Rafa store when we have the final event. I know it's going to be great fun. There's going to be some fun games being played out. There's going to be a bunch of interesting personnel on course today, or that day. So I definitely hope that we'll see you guys make the move out to the Rafa store for the Melbourne event. That's going to happen sometime near the end of September. So 6Ks left of racing. Yachts out of the way. Billionaires out of the way. Melbourne out of the way. We're in London right now, Wes, and we've got 6Ks remaining. A lap and a half. The question now remains, you're in London. What did you do with your special bell?
Oh, my special bell. I think I've actually left it in transit. I don't think it's come through tonight, so I do have a makeshift bell here though, so when we come round for it, I can ring my makeshift bell, but I don't have my my half a cowbell, which like you ordered off the internet. So if you're new streaming in to this, Jesper ordered half a cowbell. It didn't have the actual center part, which you need to ding it. So that was a huge fail by Jesper, but good effort nonetheless. He's put himself out there. He's tried, and he still hasn't quite corrected it yet, but we'll get there in the end.
I feel like there's a life lesson hidden somewhere here. When you try your best, but you don't succeed. I mean,
that's it. I think someone will be able to maybe bring it. I think Wendy Superfan will hook us up with a real cowbell in Melbourne. I'm sure she'd have something from down Wynyard Way that she'd be able to hook up. Maybe an old farmer that she has a friend of or something will hook up a real cowbell for us.
I like the sound of that. Most because I don't have to have the responsibility of buying a full cowbell. But I'm grateful. One lap to go. I'm excited to see what your makeshift cowbell is gonna be today. Usually we've got the old teacup and the fork. Tonight, what is it, Wes? We've got 200 meters to go. I'm excited.
Well, not hashtag not sponsored, but my Subaru keys are gonna have to make do tonight. So we're coming through under the banner, and we have got the bell here now for the riders.
Isn't Subaru, they used to be a sponsor of Australian cycling, didn't they?
I think they still currently are, but to what level, I'm not quite sure if it's beyond for next year, for 2018. Because I know Skoda have been doing a lot lately, so I'd be interested to know whether Skoda link in. I know they're doing a lot in New Zealand as well. So yeah, Skoda have been advertised a lot on SBS as well for cycling.
Because I know that the Tour Down Under, they're the only stage race to name their stages Stage 1, the Mars race, and Stage 2, the Subaru Tour, or whatever. Stage 3, the local farm race. Like, they've got sponsors in every stage, which is really cool. Really innovative.
Yeah, and also, yeah, for the national championships, yeah, it's usually always sponsored by Mars. So they're presented with big Mars bars, up on stage. Big oversized Mars bars, has about 50 inside it. And usually that doesn't go to the riders. Usually that goes to the mechanics and the soigneurs and the other support staff. I know when Luke Durbridge was part of the Greenwich team, won one of those for the time trial, and I think he got maybe one Mars bar out of it. I think there was about 25 to 30 in it. And yeah, the mechanics used that up on the road race day, driving around in the car. There wasn't much left. There's a lot of wrappers everywhere.
But let's be honest. If Luke Durbridge was to win or to eat 50 Mars bars, that'd be the last race he'd win that season.
Well, I think that was the method was because he was also, so the time trial is on first, and then they have the road race. So I think the method was the mechanics and the soigneurs took on the role of making sure they ate all the bars so the riders wouldn't.
So they were his nutrition expert for the day.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it rolls. But we see Tom Aliff up the front here now, sort of playing that policeman role, drop back a little bit now, and we will see Jones take a flyer here. My prediction is Jones will take a flyer. He will go up this incline into the final, and we will see probably Pat Shaw react first is my guess, and then Ockerby follow suit. So there you go. That's my prediction on this last part leading into the climb.
So when we actually get to the climb, one thing that many people underestimate is actually the continuation over the top. You mentioned earlier about, not grinding but keep spinning. Most people, when they get to the top of the climb, they're so exhausted because they have to put out 800 watts, 9 watts per kilo, that they slowly say, oh, yes, I'm over the top. I can now bring it back down. No, you cannot. For the first 10 or 15 seconds, once you hit flat road, you need to continuously spin around, continuously be at 500, 600 watts over the top, because otherwise you're simply going to get dropped. Because at the very top of the climb, your speed is going to be 14 to 13 kilometers an hour. If somebody else carries speed over the top, they'll be going at 30 kilometers an hour. You can kind of imagine the difference, so you really just gotta keep going. That right there is your Zwifting tip of the day, powered by Well, I guess that one's powered by Jesper and Wes.
That one is powered by Jesper and Wes. Yeah, but it's really important to make sure that once you get that speed going and you're on top of that gear, because you can start to settle into it. Otherwise, if you're starting to grind in that cadence, so if you're getting under that 80 range and you're getting down to those 70s, then it's quite hard to maintain that for a long period. Because that lactic is just going to start to burn up. You're starting to use the actual energy is stored in the muscle. You're not using the aerobic system as much, so it will bring your breathing rate down. But maybe for the finale, you will probably see that they'll grind a little bit more than they would in the other laps that we see up the hill, because of that reason of whatever you got left here, grind it out. But we do see 100 cadence here now with Tom Aliff taking a fly here with an aero power up. Getting some gap here, Jesper.
He's being used as that first satellite rider going off the front with the air power up. He is not the main man for WP task, but this move could stick. That's 7 seconds with 1.5 kilometers to go now for Tom Aliff as they hit the climb. We're going to go back to the main squad now because we've got a teammate. We got Birdie bringing back Aliff, trying to stay near the front. Savatsky, a great sprinter, going towards the front. Jones is there. Where is Pat Shaw? He seems to be a bit further back over the top. Aliff with a 5-second gap over the top. This move could stick now if Aliff can dig deep over the top, because now everyone else is going to start looking around, because Birdie in theory should not take this up.
No, Birdie will not take this up. Maybe he was predicting that acceleration there, was making sure that he didn't get shelled off the bunch. But we see that Tom is really settling in a good pace here. He's got a nice rhythm going. So that nice cadence. He's at a very high heart rate. He's working here up in that top end of his range. So 190 here. So that must be up towards his limit there. So that is a very strong effort. We see the other guys back here. Pat Shaw seeing the danger here, wants those points. But Aliff doing a very strong ride out here, holding that power down and holding that gap. So I'd love to see him hold on for the win here.
Unfortunately, 2 seconds between them and the sprint coming up. There's going to be some fresh legs in this group. It looks like Tom Aliff is going to be caught, but that was the whole point of his attack. His attack was to make sure that nobody else got off the front. WP Task had a rider in the breakaway. It meant less work for Ockerby, less work for Dunn. Brilliant move from Tom Aliff now. And now Birdie's going to take it up at the front. He's going to do the lead out. With 1K to go, he's going to gradually increase the wattage, increase the speed, so that we can see Dunn and Ockerby slid in, and they don't have to worry about starting the sprint just early. But, Wes, this is Pat Shaw territory. He likes to sprint from afar out.
This is, and they will be keeping a close eye on Pat here now. Also, Jones likes to go early too, so if they can get in their slipstream of Jones or Pat, use them as a lead out there, and the old shake and bake and come around the outside. So
starting now!
Oh,
starting now! This is like...
And who do we...
What?
Okay. Who do we see off the front here, Jesper?
900 meters to go. Aero power-ups all around. 900 meters to go. They started the sprint. Now they've got 300 left. Savatsky and Shaw are neck and neck towards the finish line. But Bling Matthews, Calbium, but Ockerby is coming back now.
Ockerby.
It's going to be so close. Ockerby,
on
Jones. But Jones is not done yet. Down to the wire. Photo finish. Photo finish.
That was Jones. Look at Jones in the green jersey there. We see Jones in that green jersey. So that was the quickest along that stretch there. Jones come home like a lightning bolt. But Ockerby has been the outright winner of the eCrit, because obviously Jones isn't eligible for those points. But nonetheless, Jones did win tonight. That was a super fast finish. I almost go to a photo finish, but I'm pretty confident that Jones just rolled through in front.
900 meters, Wes. Are you nuts? What is in your water, Australians? Like,
yeah, that was some sprint there. That'd have to be the longest sprint that we've seen. That was incredible. Oh, I could feel the lactic here. We see now that Ockerby will tune in on here. Drop down. I don't know whether so his heart rate is still at 170, and he's only doing 60 to 80 watts here. So rolling the legs out, gets a big ride on. Was that a ride on for you then, Jesper?
Yes, I think we'll give one to Jones and Pat as well. that I think
great.
Right there is your podium. But what, Australians? That was 10 watts per kilo for a good 25-30 seconds out there on course. if you're watching right now and you've never put out that sort of power or attempted to put out that sort of power, jump on Zwift tonight, jump on your bike, and try to sprint pretty much as hard as you can for 30 seconds. Just doing 10 seconds alone is tough, but we saw, in the end, it came down to drafting. Pat went really early. Ockerby was on Pat's wheel, but on Ockerby's wheel was Jones. And Jones could keep a match for the very final sprint, and he came around. Jones, albeit being a Kiwi, cannot win, so that means Ockerby is the out-and-out winner of the race. But gosh, that was an amazing race. Wes, we're going to be back in just an hour's time. Now right here over on Zwift Community Live, it's going to be Ian Anderson racing the Kiss America. So Zwift Community Live right here on Facebook. If you want to see more of this pretty face and the man below, we'll be live in just over an hour.